The US Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has used a security summit in Singapore to China could launch an invasion of
China just reacted to the US president after his announcement about the revolutionary Golden Dome that will allow the USA to protect countries like Taiwan. And China made it clear that the USA should abandon this idea. According to China, this project will completely shift power dynamics in the world. And that's why China is asking Trump to abandon this plan about Taiwan. The problem is that Trump announced a revolutionary missile defense system, a Golden Dome, which will cost $175 billion. And the USA has very active plans to be involved in the world of geopolitics and protect Taiwan from China. However, not surprisingly, Xi Jinping, the leader of China, didn't react very strictly and is almost begging Trump to not do this. Things are very scary, so let's explain everything. So the US Golden Dome, announced by Trump in May 2025, is the most sophisticated and advanced defense system in American history. And it was a giant announcement from Trump about his ambitions to be the most influential country in the world. And according to Trump, the USA will protect Taiwan and won't abandon this country, especially after the USA will be able to use the Golden Dome to control ballistic missiles, cruise missiles, drones, and other dangerous military weapons. Trump said this about US plans. Now we have technology that will allow us to protect what we want, including hypersonic missiles, advanced cruise missiles. All of those will be knocked out of the air. For years, Xi has built his reputation on this idea that China has closed the gap with the US in both tech and military strength. But the new Golden Dome rips that illusion instantly. The Golden Dome isn't just another missile shield. It is a major shift in the world of geopolitics and influence. And now it allows the USA to defend itself and other countries from various next-gen threats like hypersonic. The idea is to launch a full network of satellites, loaded with sensors and interceptors that can detect and shoot down missiles during every phase of their flight, including the critical boost phase. The main goal? Shield the American homeland from long-range missile attacks, especially from countries like China, Russia, and North Korea. But beyond that, Golden Dome also has big implications for US allies, particularly in the Indo-Pacific, with Taiwan being a key focus. When it comes to Taiwan, the Golden Dome will seriously shift the balance. If the US can shoot down missiles right as they're launched, it forces China to think twice before making any aggressive moves. That early intercept capability alone will mess with Beijing's entire strategy. Plus, with those satellites feeding the US real-time intel, response time in the region will be nearly instant. And the USA being so persistent in its plans to defend Taiwan, that might completely undercut Xi Jinping's influence in China. Inside China, Xi's power runs on the belief that he's made the country untouchable. He sells the story of an unstoppable rise of the Communist Party elites in the world. But Golden Dome flips the script. Suddenly the US has an untouchable shield, and China is suddenly left exposed. If a real conflict between USA and China ever breaks out, the Chinese public could see a collapse of Xi Jinping, proof that their leader couldn't even achieve basic defense equality with the USA. That invincible, strongman image that Xi Jinping spent a lot of money and years building. This image is collapsed, and that's why Xi Jinping is very serious about. He is practically desperate. For a leader who's tied his legacy to military dominance, this isn't just a setback, it might be a global humiliation. By backing Taiwan's defences and tightening alliances in the Indo-Pacific, the US is doing more than just military posturing. It's hitting at Xi Jinping's bigger narrative. Xi's whole pitch is that the West is in decline and China's rise is unstoppable. But growing international support for Taiwan chips away at that image. If the world keeps rallying behind Taiwan and reunification starts looking impossible, it could shake confidence inside China, especially among those already doubting Xi's promises. Inside the CCP, Xi's grip on power is tied directly to his aggressive foreign policy, and Taiwan is a centerpiece of that. But as the US ramps up its presence and keeps backing Taiwan, cracks could start forming. Some factions in the party are already nervous about the risks: military tension, economic fallout, global pushback. If Xi pushes too far and it backfires, he could face real pushback from within. And the US's strategy of not fully committing but staying ready, this strategic ambiguity, only makes things worse for Xi. It forces China to prepare for a possible American response without knowing if or when it would happen. That uncertainty raises the stakes, both financially and militarily. With the US strengthening its position in the region, Xi might be forced to rethink his Taiwan strategy. or risk losing influence, even inside his own government. And that's why China voiced its objections. And now it is in a situation where China is warning the USA to abandon Taiwan. In response, China didn't sugarcoat it. They issued a direct message to Washington: abandon Taiwan. Then China added to this warning, telling Washington to stop playing with fire over Taiwan. This came right after US Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth took the stage at a major summit in Singapore and didn't hold back. At the Shangri-La dialogue on Saturday, Hegseth said flat out that China is credibly preparing for military action, accusing Beijing of actively rehearsing an invasion of Taiwan. He warned that China isn't just posturing, it's making real moves to shift the power balance in Asia. And now tensions are boiling over. China sees Taiwan as part of its territory and has made it clear it's willing to take it back by force if needed. But Taiwan's government isn't buying it. They've pushed back hard, saying only the people of the island have the right to decide their future, not Beijing. Chinese officials warned that turning space into a battleground over Taiwan could shake the entire global security structure. After Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth's recent comments, China's foreign ministry fired back fast. They warned that Taiwan is an internal matter and slammed the US for turning the Asia-Pacific into what they called a powder keg. The statement was direct. The US should not entertain illusions about using the Taiwan question as a bargaining chip to contain China, nor should it play with fire. Beijing made it clear they're not bluffing. China accused the USA of continuously ramping up its military presence that might eventually a full-blown arms race in space. In addition, Xi Jinping slammed US plans to protect other countries, saying it completely ignores the inseparable interrelationship between strategic offensive arms and strategic defensive arms, something he said was always a core principle for maintaining global stability and peace. However, in response, the Trump administration explained that it's important not to let China fulfill its goals with Taiwan. US Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth said, "Let me be clear, any attempt by Communist China to conquer Taiwan by force would result in devastating consequences for the Indo-Pacific and the world. There's no reason to sugarcoat it. The threat China poses is real, and it could be imminent. We hope not, but certainly could be." The problem for Xi Jinping is that the USA, being very strong in its intentions to defend Taiwan, blows up the propaganda machine of China. Xi Jinping has spent years building a narrative inside China that the US is falling apart, divided, chaotic, and too weak to lead on the world stage. That message has been central to how he's justified China's rise and tightened control back home. But now, with the US stepping up in a big way, backing Taiwan with serious military power and pulling allies together, Xi's whole story starts to crack. It shows that America, when it really matters, is still strong, still leading, and very much able to stop China from expanding. And once that illusion breaks, people in China might start asking real questions about what else they've been told. What's worse for Xi is how all this exposes a deeper problem. His leadership promises aren't lining up with reality. He's been selling the idea of national rejuvenation, reunification with Taiwan, and global dominance. But now, with the US making a strong stand, taking Taiwan suddenly looks way harder. The stronger America looks, the more Xi's image starts to wobble at home. If Chinese citizens see the US holding the line, while China struggles to keep up, the whole myth of American collapse falls apart. And that's not just bad optics. It's a real threat to the nationalist support Xi depends on to stay in power. One thing is for sure, the US unveiling of the Golden Dome missile defense system in May 2025 has pushed tensions with China to a whole new level. This space-based shield is meant to intercept everything from ballistic to hypersonic missiles, and it marks a major shift in how America plans to defend itself. But China sees it differently. To Beijing, Golden Dome isn't just a defense, it's a threat. For Washington, though, it's about staying ahead of countries like China. But the message to Beijing was loud and clear, and not well received.